All right, Marcy, where are you from?
Hi, I'm from Papua New Guinea.
How long have you been in this country?
Almost 4 years.
So you came as a student then?
Yes, sir.
So what kind of things seemed strange to you when you got here?
Well, there wasn't a lot to learn from because I grew up from a home that my parents were already, they were raised by missionaries since they were 16. So I grew up in a household that was very different, was more Americanized. So when I came here, I just adjusted easily, except for the fact that after a couple months, I sort of missed the food and my friends. Well, I didn't have a lot of friends, my family mostly.
Mhm.
So that was it.
So there weren't a lot of things that you felt like you needed to change on to adjust?
No. See, when I was back home, I felt out of place a little, and I didn't have that many friends because of the way I was brought up. The person that's my sister. She's probably like 5 years older than I am, and the rest of them are like 10 and 12 years. So they came here to the States. They came back. So most of my family are so Americanized. I grew up in a household where everything was just like that. When I step out of my own door, things are different. But that's why I didn't have many friends, because I couldn't relate to them. And so I was basically like homeschooled, went to private school. That was just it. I didn't have a social life.
So you learned English very young then?
Yes, English is my first language. And well, I learned English together with Pidgin. Pidgin is like our national language, and it's a bit of German and I think bit some English. So it's like basically broken English.
Okay. So you don't have another tribal language or national language?
I do. PNG has like 832 languages. So my dad has a different language, not dialect, different language, completely different from my mother's. I don't know my mom's language at all. And I speak a little bit of my dad's. Like I pick up bits and pieces, but my dad was an English teacher. So in our household, we were just told to speak English at all times. And when I turned 18, before I came here, when I went to the university back home, I started learning bits and pieces of my language, because once I stepped out to go to state university, like I met people from my own culture, from where my dad was from, and I couldn't relate that much. And I was totally an outsider, which is very bad because I got bullied for it a lot. And so I had to learn, and that's where I picked up bits of my dad's language, so I can speak a little bit of that.
Tell us a little bit about the custom of bride price that's practiced in Papua New Guinea.
As a culture, okay, it's like a Highlands thing. If a guy wants to marry a lady, he pays like a dowry, a bride price, and basically you pay with cash as well as pigs. Pigs are like worth just as much as money is. Like the bigger the pig is, it's like 1,000 for a pig. That's like this big. 500 for something like this, 200 for something smaller, you know. So say if someone was educated here, like my older sister was educated here, she would be more expensive for the guy to purchase her. And so, yeah, they go as far as like paying. I think the highest I've heard is 90,000, and like almost 100 something pigs or 100 pigs, yeah. Wow. And they would do like additional things like cows or goats or sheep, all of that. And like these days they're starting to have like rice and fish and whatever canned stuff, like, yeah.
So whatever has value can be part of that price then. And a man can still buy more than one wife,
yes,
right?
they can. Because the bride price thing it's not legal, you know. I mean, like, they don't sign a marriage certificate or license or whatever. So it's like in cultural like law, it's you're married to that person, but legally it's not known. So say this guy gets tired of his wife, he can also get another one. And they can't legally divorce, because if they have to separate, that means the lady's family would have to return the money that the guy paid for the lady. So the people don't want to get together, like the wife's family wouldn't want to get together and come up with like 20,000 to give back. So they're like, just stay there. you'll be fine, you know? So like, I know lots of people that are still, like, they're like the first wives and they still stay there because, the lady's family would have to repay the money that the guy paid for it, so since they can't come up with that money cash, they just tell the lady to stay there. Besides, over here you can get remarried again. In PNG, once you're married, you know, you're that guy's wife. No one would want you, no one at all. So like, even if you have like a legitimate child, you cannot get married to a guy. Your life, I mean, that's it for you, unless you marry the father of your child.
Now, does the woman have much choice on who she marries?
Yeah. Back then, you didn't have much choice. Like whoever, like your parents chose whatever kind of husband you had to marry. But like now, things are starting to change. So girls can choose who they want to marry. But I think way back in the villages, fathers still choose like guys. Like the last time I went back home, this 16-year-old girl was told to marry this guy that was probably like 35, 40. And like I was totally against it, but her parents thought she would do well with him because he was a wealthy guy and she was just from a village. So some people still do that. But things have changed, so I don't know.
So when you get married, do you expect that a bride price will be paid?
Okay, that's another thing. Like being here, I have people supporting me. So once I get married, of course they'll expect a bride price, so they'll get back what they put in me. It's like an investment, kind of. But my dad doesn't really care because, like I said, his upbringing was different. All he cares about is as long as I marry someone that I love, and if he doesn't want to put bride price, as long as he's going to take care of me, that's fine. But like, there's a area where if I have a kid, he would have to pay for every child that I have. Like he would pay my dad for every child that I have for him, something like that. So even if he doesn't pay the bride price, he'd have to pay that. That's like his thank you to me and my family, something like that.
So if he did pay a bride price, he would not have to pay for the
No,
children?
he would.
He still would?
Yeah, but like what I mean about my dad wouldn't care about the bride price, but he would care about like if we have
For
a
the
child,
children.
he has to pay for this kid. It's weird.
Okay, very interesting. All right, anybody have a question for Marcia?
Yeah.
Okay.
You take bids? No. Totally kidding. I don't mean to offend you. I was in a class yesterday that was very, I don't know, cultural shocking to me. There was some kind of fat comment that was seen as a positive versus a negative. My question sort of tag along with that is, would you say in your estimation, I know in America, many young ladies from as young as 12, 20 something, even up into their 30s have a lot of pressure from society to be a specific thing, to act a certain way. Women in this room, just even hearing me say it, if I would walk up to any one of these ladies here in America and tell them they were fat, that would crush them. And if they believe me, that would ruin their week or their month, and maybe even longer because of all the pressure. Would you say that your home society, that culture puts that sort of pressure on females, even at that young of an age?
Yeah, sort of, but PNG is like a third world country, so being fat is very important. That just shows that you have more food, more money, what all. So they don't really, it's not that much of a pressure on them. Girls that are naturally skinny and like nice looking, so they don't really care. But like, if you get fat, it's still, it doesn't, like weight issue is not a big deal in PNG at all. You have like almost all of them skinny, and then you have the fat ones that choose to be fat. So it's not really, it wouldn't hurt their feelings at all. No. But like there are women from the highlands that if you say they were skinny, they'd totally punch you, yeah. Really, they would. Like if they were a little fat and you said like, oh, you need to put on a little more, like they would totally. They're aggressive women. Women from the highlands, they're very aggressive, they would totally do that, yeah. But it's not like, over here, it's so much pressure to be skinny or to be the right size or what. Over there, it's not a big deal. It really isn't. Because, I don't know.
Question. Are there other pressures though that that we obviously like wouldn't have here? Like, are there pressures on
Yeah, there's-
women?
The pressure, like the main thing there is like the status thing. You cannot date a guy that's from a wealthy family. You cannot date a girl that's like poor if you're a rich guy. Okay, for example, myself, I dated a guy that was like from a wealthy family, but in PNG, when you're a pastor's daughter, you're referred to as you're from like really low status, right? So, I mean, they tell you like, oh, our offering pays for your school meal or for your Coke or whatever you're drinking. It's like they're really cruel, but I mean that's the way it is. So we couldn't date because his parents thought that my parents were from the low class and we couldn't meet their status, and I wouldn't bring any sort of benefit towards their company, empire, and whatever it was. So, like, that's the pressure. Like, you wish you were born from like a wealthier family or so and so. So basically, it's that. I think that's the big deal there.